1. We're going to start with Senator Alma Francis Heyliger. Senator?
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of this territory. Good morning to the listening audience. I rise in support of these individuals as I have followed along with the nomination process. I really don't have much to say because I have paid attention to each one of them and what each of them have offered. I will add to this and say that on a personal note, I am of the belief that some of these boards needs to be consolidated and reduced. I think for a population this size, we have quite too many. But nonetheless, I appreciate people offering themselves to come forward and serve on these boards so we could be following the letter of the law until we could clean up some of these things. As it relates to the finance commissioner, we were here and we listened to her testimony. I am looking forward to see what she's going to be bringing to the table, and I will vote in the affirmative. Earlier, we had a request for a special order to the floor in regards to Bill 34-0045. As a member of this institution, I was here on May the 4th when we were attempting to bring this to the floor back then. And it was discussed amongst our colleagues that we should give it an opportunity to go through the Committee of Jurisdiction. This has been here since April the 13th to now. Today is now August the 3rd. So if you see me and my colleagues are making an effort to bring something to this floor, special order, it's not because we were not attempting to go through the process, but because after several months, I think situations like this, so simple, where on the books, I don't think as a body, we should have the governor having the right to decide our salaries. And that is how I personally feel. And I think things like these need to be removed out of the VI code. And unfortunately, this has been a back and forth, whether it's either tied to the lowest paid commissioner. Now we have something else in the books where the governor has the right to tell us as a body how we should be paid. These types of things do not belong in our code. And that is how I feel. And, unfortunately, it was turned down where not enough of our colleagues was able to vote in favor to allow that piece of legislation to be special ordered to the floor, which is unfortunate. But hopefully, someday, we will realize that we are the first branch of government, and we really recognize that we should be making some of these decisions on our own or either utilizing laws where, for example, we had a whole compensation board that apparently that was created that is going to expire this year that has never been activated. So it's a lot of things I personally think need to be adjusted. So when it comes to Bill 34-0045 that did not make it to special order on this floor, ultimately, we need to have these things removed because once again, the governor of these Virgin Islands should never have authority to set any member of this institution's salary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Heyliger. Senator Alma Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your 4 minutes. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Once again, good afternoon to the people of this territory. I rise in support for the majority of the pieces of legislation on this block. As it relates to Bill number 34-0004, I am in total support of this as it basically gives an opportunity to make sure that the taxes are accounted for prior to shipment, if I recall what we had discussed in the committee. As it relates to Bill number 34-0037, which is a piece of legislation I am bringing forward, which unanimously was voted out of the Rules Committee, this piece of legislation just simply changes from $5,000 to $10,000 the amount of monies without probate that you could be able to get in regards to assisting with your loved ones. It could be a husband, it could be a wife, it could be a sister or brother who has paid off a debt. And once these individuals have bank accounts, insurance, it could be credit unions, etc., they could tap into those funds to make sure that these debts are paid off. But it's only limited currently to $5,000. We're just requesting that it goes up to $10,000. As you know, the cost of things go up quite a bit. We are also pushing for this piece of legislation because we know at times when it comes to funerals, getting access to those monies is critical, especially when you want to bury your loved ones with respect and decency. We're going to be offering an amendment at the appropriate time, and I'm asking my colleagues to support that bill. 34-0058, I'm going to have to vote my conscience on this one. I'm a little bit divided on this piece of legislation. As it relates to the $1 million appropriation for the Economic Development Authority Enterprise Zone, I am in support of that aspect of it, but I attended the meetings when it came to this Catalyst Fund. I sat here in this chair when our governor spoke to the Catalyst Fund in his State of the Territory address. And during the meetings when we were speaking about it, it came about from asking for with the testifiers, as well as engaging in conversation outside of the chambers. It was basically brought to my attention, and what I gathered, it seemed that the $5 million that is being transferred for this program to the RT Park, the initial impression was it was supposed to be open for the public to get an opportunity to utilize this program. But from what I gathered, these monies are already going to be divvied up between a limited amount of companies that already have shown interest in having these funds. I would have rather, if you came to me as a senator and listed those individuals, then I would have been making a decision based on that. But how the law is written, it gives the impression that the public could do it when it seems like these monies are already going in specific directions. And based on my conscience, I cannot agree to that. As it relates to 340060, I am in support. I attended the meetings in regards to the $4 million that we want to put out there to help people in our territory. As you know, when you want to go get a home, the majority of individuals have to come up with 20%. Unfortunately, a lot of us, if we're just getting a $300,000 home, which is the average here in the territory, for that amount, $60,000 is quite a bit for people to have to come up with. So by putting forward this $4 million to give individuals an opportunity to be able to tap into that for their deposit, as well as going through the mortgage process, could really, really assist with home ownership here in the territory. And I am a firm supporter of this piece of legislation. 340071, I will vote at the appropriate time. And Madam Chair, may I conclude with the last? Thank you. As it relates to 340077, it is a long time coming. That is all I'm going to say in regard to the return of the 8% to the people of this territory. 11 years ago, when this action was taken against the individuals in this government, I thought it was very unfortunate. As I spoke out about it, I spoke to several senators, because you cannot create a law changing a NOPA basically to remove a percentage of people's salaries, which is directly a contract between that individual offering their services for a set price. And we created a law as a body to change that agreement. And thankful to the unions for taking it to court. And this body, this 34th legislature, is going to correct the wrong. And I appreciate my colleagues that we're all collectively going to work on this, because the people deserve their monies back. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your indulgence, and I will vote at the appropriate time and offer the amendment.
Thank you, Senator Francis Heyliger. Senator DeGraff. Senator Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your amendment.
Thank you. I move Amendment 34-25. Let me make sure. Amendment 34-250 to amend Bill number 340037. As it reads, Bill number 340037 is amended in the following instances. A, Section 1 is amended as indicated by the underlined language and reads as follows. Title 15, Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 3, Section 89 is amended in the section heading by inserting "and funeral expenses after deaths," and in section B and subsection B and subsection C by striking 5,000 and inserting 10,000. B, an appropriately numbered section is added that reads as follows. Section to be numbered A, Act number 7149, subsection 21 is repealed. B, Act number 6003, subsection 2 is repealed. I so move.
Thank you. Amendment number 34-250 to bill number 0037 has been properly moved by Senator Alma Francis Heyliger, seconded by Senator Javon James, Senator Dwayne M. DeGraff, and Senator Franklin Johnson. Hearing no objections, so ordered. Senator Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again, people of the territory. Good afternoon to my colleagues. I rise in support for some of these bills. I want to speak to Bill number 34-0030, an act amending Title IV Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 11, in regards to the Virgin Islands Superior Court jurisdiction over children, as it relates to the courts having jurisdiction over whether deciding if a child should be married or not. I am in support of this piece of legislation. 34-0031, act amending Title 14 as it relates to individuals who are dealing with who have dealt with penalties for child neglect and are convicted and they have to attend counseling. I think this is a very important piece of legislation. As you find sometimes when situations like these happen, people might get prison time, they might get fines, but they also need to be in a situation where they do get the counseling necessary so that these things would potentially not happen again. 34-0034, as it relates to the Uniform Electronic Legal Material Act, I am in support of this piece of legislation. We did have an opportunity to have it vetted in the committee where I definitely listened to my colleague as she really pushed for this piece of legislation, so she's definitely getting my support. 34-0032, as it relates to individuals that abuse children, will also be getting counseling. That is very necessary in our community. In regards to 34-0066, I will vote my conscience when it comes to that piece of legislation. I appreciate, and I did speak to my colleague in regards to that piece of legislation, but I think there were several things that we discussed that should be amended, and he did share with me that at some point they would get done, but as of right now, how it stands, I don't think I could support 34-0066. 34-0076, as it relates to granting seniors and terminally ill individual preference when it comes to civil actions, I completely support this piece of legislation. I already touched a little bit on Bill 34-0077 in the previous block, and that had to do with the 8%, which I am a firm believer that the people of this territory, specifically the government employees, should have been restored a long time ago, but we're doing it now, so I'm looking forward to that 8% being returned to the employees.
2 minutes.
As it relates to 34-0095, the state of emergency. This piece of legislation, where it has to come before this body as time passes on for the governor to be able to continuously have us in a state of emergency. And every time this comes before me, and this is what the second or third time as a senator it's been here, I always did my due diligence to look at what the federal government is doing. I'm always paying attention to what other states are doing. And to be honest, as much as sometimes I cringe, these different states and territories are still in a state of emergency. We are dealing with COVID on a massive scale right now. But I would prefer that they keep coming to this body to ask us so we can monitor what is happening in regards to giving permission to keeping us in a state of emergency. So I will have to vote based on my conscience when it comes to this piece of legislation, because as you know, with this Delta variant coming up, and it's really causing and wreaking havoc within the United States and here in the territory, unfortunately, I believe it was just recently this week, the CDC has placed the Virgin Islands on the highest scale for places not to travel. And it has a lot to do with the rise of this Delta variant. And if we're not serious about really doing what we have to do as a community, may I wrap up quickly, Madam Chair? Okay. If we are not serious about doing what we have to do as a community, whether it's consistently wearing our masks, washing our hands, social distancing, if we make the choice to go ahead and take the vaccine, we have to do everything in our power, not only for our sakes, but for our loved ones, and also to secure the future of these islands when it comes to our economic stability and growth. So thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Senator Heyliger. Senator Franklin D. Johnson. Senator Francis Heyliger, yes. What rule have we violated with your objection? Your point of order, I guess you said. Yes.
As a sitting senator, I'm trying to understand how... Okay, point of order.
What rule has been broken, Senator? Rule in the rule book. Let me show you the rule book.
I have it. I'll walk with it. Hold on. No, I've never seen this amendment. It was never circulated, and I've never seen it. So
somebody said second. Somebody said second. The question has been moved.
The question has been moved. Roll call, please. Roll call on bill number 34, that's 0077, as amended. Colleagues, this concludes our agenda. Senator Alma Francis Heyliger, you are recognized for your point of personal privilege. Please recognize the senator's mic.
I am truly trying to... Yes, that's fine. I am truly trying to just get an explanation and an understanding of something, because as a member of this institution, I think we should all be educated, and I appreciate it. There was a document that was circulated, an amendment that was dated August the 3rd, that I had never laid my eyes on up until it was put on my desk a few seconds before we voted. I had never seen it, and I know based on the rules and the regulations, amendments must be circulated at least 48 hours in advance. In addition, if that is the case, we should have it distributed to senators at least 24 hours before it is to be acted on. So I'm just needing some clarity as to how this amendment is here dated August the 3rd, and I, as a sitting duly elected senator, had never laid eyes on it prior to it being voted on seconds before it was put on my desk. Thank you.